So the next phase of the build of our pup is to add the interplane struts, which sit in the slots in the wings there that you can see. And then we're going to loosely rig everything before assembling the top wing and popping that on too. So getting close to the end. Obviously we've still got a nose to complete there, and there's quite a bit of work involved because we've got that little dummy rotary to assemble as well, which is quite a lot of fun to do. But let's get on with the build and get the struts built. So to actually get the struts built themselves, obviously we need the struts out of our plastic sheet, and we've got some carbon fibre too. We've still got a fair amount of carbon fibre left of our 500mm strip, and obviously we're going to need some stickers as well to go on the back of the strut. So let's get our P27 and P28 free of the plastic sheet. So do my trick of turning it over so we can more easily see where the little tabs are. That's one. There's two. Now importantly, it is worth looking at the anatomy of these parts. So if I just bring that a little closer to the camera, you'll see obviously we've got top and bottom parts which are very similar to the shape of the ribs that we use on the aircraft, and that's indeed where they sit. The little pointy bits here and here are the sort of the internal apex of the wing. And obviously we've also got some rigging here which has been laser cut very finely into the detail, so we don't actually have to do that rigging. That's all done for us. And also you've got these little holes in each corner as well, and these are for the rigging to pass through. You notice they have a little keyhole design. That is deliberate. It just means that when you put the thread through, by pulling on it, it actually locks in place somewhat. So that sort of really helps with getting the rigging adjusted correctly once we've got the top wing on. One thing that we can do with this before we proceed is obviously we've got this blank side. We've done this on the other struts. We're just colouring in the other side of the rigging using a permanent marker of some sort. I've still got my black Sharpie here. I haven't gone and got my grey Sharpie from work, so we'll just use that. And you just colour them in. So I'll continue doing that, and you can come back when I've finished and we can carry on with the rest of the build of the struts. So both done now, and what we need to do is add some carbon fibre to each of these struts now to stiffen it up. And the measurement that we need, he looks around rapidly to try and find the piece of paper this was noted down on. Obviously gone and lost it. Oh well, there we go. Well, we'll do it live, shall we? Here we go. So we're looking at, I think it was around about 52 was the actual figure. Yeah, I'd say 52 is what we need. So each one of those requires a length of 52 on this carbon fibre strip. Go. I'll use that one to guide me with the others. Just holding onto either side, stop it pinging off. Last one. There we go. Carbon fibre is one side. In fact, I don't think we need any more carbon fibre, so we've got a little bit extra for another build that we may do. Right. Now I'm going to actually coat the entire back surface of each of these struts with some glue. I'm getting to the end of that one, I think, but we'll carry on regardless. Needs a little bit of unblocking. So the reason I'm adding the glue all over the other side, I think I've gone over it before, but it's just to help retain the sticker. The self-adhesive on most stickers is usually pretty good, but because these stickers are so small, sometimes that adhesive just doesn't grab enough and will come adrift slightly. So a little bit more adhesive. It's taking an age to come out because of the age of the glue. And then when we place our carbon fibre, what we want is to avoid the rigging holes, because we don't want to cover those up. So this should sit fairly centrally between those two holes, including the little lower keyhole. There we go. So once again, I'm going to carry on with adding these bits of carbon fibre, and I'll come back to you once that is complete. So those bits of carbon fibre are now in place. We need to add our stickers. Now this, when these are installed on the aircraft, the printed side is on the outside of the wing, like so. So that's the port wing, that's the starboard wing. Now I think I've broken my own rule of doing starboard first. So port side, yes indeed I have S22 and S23 go onto the port side, and S24 and S25 go onto the starboard side. So anyway, let's, once again, with the anatomy of these stickers, you'll notice that at the ends of each of the stickers is a little sort of looped cutout. Once again, that is to clear the hole for the rigging. There we go. Now these stickers are slightly different. I may have mentioned before, but they've actually got a black sticker backing. We've changed the material we're using. Unfortunately, our original supplier, who've been supplying us for 9-10 years, have stopped making the material that we use, and they're not going to make it anymore. We don't order enough to warrant them continuing. So, and I don't think they've got any more customers for it. So we've had to bite the bullet and find an alternative product. And this seems to be the way. I like the fact that it's got a black adhesive on the back, because obviously that's less obvious, less visual than the white. So anyway, let's concentrate on what we're doing here, John. So this is S22. It's going on the it's going on the rearmost strut. So what I tend to do is line it up at the base and then carry it forward up the up the strut, just making sure that it covers exactly what's underneath. And if I turn it over, I can have a look and see if there's anything poking out the other side. Indeed, we've got a little bit of a poke at the back. What I've got to remember is obviously it's got to fold down as well alongside the carbon fibre, so it will come in a bit. I'm just going to try and move that over slightly. So that's a bit better. So I'm just going to press that home so that the adhesive comes into contact not only with the carbon fibre but also the plastics on either side of the carbon fibre too. And then use various tools to just push it a little bit more firmly onto the glued surface. There we go. So that seems to have worked. So on to the next one. So encouraged it a little bit more. There we go. So S23. This hopefully you won't have as much of an issue getting these stickers off the backing paper as I'm having. This is especially if you're actually making the Chin Chow aircraft. The original Secret Santa has the old sticker material, so it's not too bad. But this sticker that I've done here was from our initial tests, and although it's cut through, it's just doing a little bit of what we call chewing gum. When you peel off the part, the adhesive hasn't cut all the way through, so it chewing gums. It it's like cutting a pizza and the cheese strings out. But the production ones, we've actually increased the pressure on the cutter so that it goes through the adhesive as well. I did some tests on the production stickers, and they certainly seem to come off a lot easier than the ones that I'm using here. So all should be good, I hope. So there we go. Get that all stuck down nicely. Okay, so I'll carry on doing the other one using our S24 and S25 stickers, and then we will come and install them onto the model. Okay, we've got both our struts in the mix now, and as I said, the printed side of the plastic is the one that faces outwards from the aircraft. So this one will be the port side wing. Now, if you try to slot bring this at a different angle. If you try to slot this directly in, you'll find that the slot is not long enough to accommodate it. So what you actually need to do is push strut a little bit further down. Now, because of the carbon fibre, it's a little bit tight, but just push it down like so, and then that should allow you to bend this. You can see that's contorting at the back there. Bend this to get that that slight protrusion at the front there into the slot, and then pull the back of the strut back up through, making sure that your little rigging holes are still showing. Now you can see them just at the bottom of the struts. So that is our strut in place. We're not going to glue it just yet. If you turn it over, if you've got a little lump happening like that, just draw the bottom out slightly, and that should flatten off the plastic. So if it is distorting, just pull it to the extent of the slot, and then that should resolve that issue. So if you didn't get that on the left side, here it is on the right side. So I'm going in back first, like so, and then dropping that as far in as I dare, like so, and then pushing the strut towards the other one so I can get that lip in, and then draw that out, just make sure. There we go. So that's all flat. And you'll notice when you turn it over, if you pull the struts up through, the plastic should sit nicely into the kink in the wing. There we go. So our struts are now in. We can start putting the rigging in place. So hopefully you've been continuing to stretch your rigging material. And what we're going to need is no knots first off. So just checking through, make sure it's knot free, nearly knot free. Well, that's the knot that I put in just to suspend it, so we can cut that knot off. There's another knot here we'll have to get out. But anyway, I shall do that in my spare time. What we need is two lengths of 800 millimeters. So let me just chop that knot off. And two lengths of 800. So that's, I've got you can't see this at the bottom of the board, but there are, you can see at the side here, there are numbers. I've got them across the bottom as well. So I'm measuring 50 and 30. So I've got my 800. Then let's measure off a second 800. Okay, there we go. It's pretty tough stuff to cut through. If your knife is blunt, it will not be forgiving. So that leaves us with probably another good meter and a half of, oh, and the knot has miraculously come out. Fantastic. Right, well, I'll put that to one side. So with the wings, it needs 3 lengths of rigging wire, and we're going to start at a right down here at the top of the undercarriage legs, just there and there. So the first thing we're going to do is in one end of this string, we're just going to tie a very simple knot. Like so. There we go, and then we are going to chop the tail of that knot off. Like so. And then using the rigging tool that came with the rigging wire, we are just going to pop that through from the outside in on the hole that sits on top of the leg there. So if you've got all your stickering right and you haven't been overzealous with the glue, that should go through nicely. If not, just take a piece of wire or something that will go through that hole and just pop it through. If the sticker has covered over the hole, use the tip of a blade just to puncture a hole through the sticker. So all is not lost. So that's the end of our string or wire that has the knot. I'm just going to slide that through the threader wire and then just pull that tail through the hole and just bring that all the way through like so. We're then going to take it up through to the top of our interplane strut, and that's just going to go through the top hole here. So just put the threader through rather than dropping the threader. Go, and then I can pop string through, pull it through. There we go. But while I'm doing the rigging now here, I think we actually only need one 800mm length of the string of the rigging material. Right, so it then goes from this top hole here to the rear hole on the strut. So it's actually carrying along the top of the strut itself. So of course we don't have to cross it down because we've already got that rigging in place, thanks to the laser cutter. Okay, so that goes through there, pull that through. Now, the interesting bit, there should be a tiny little hole in the wing, very close to the fuselage. On here, it is just below the H on Chin Chow, which is just there. So I'm going to pop up through with the needle threader, like so, and then just put my thread through the threader and drop it out. Okay, let's try that again. Through the threader and through the bottom of the wing. There we go. Done. Then we're going to go through the top of the rear undercarriage strut. So there's a hole there. You should be able to pop your rigging tool through. And as I said, if you can't, then clear it with a bit of wire or another tool of some sort, or puncture with the tip of your blade. So that just goes through there, and then obviously through to the other side. think no, the hole's fine. There we go. It's just me not being able to see it properly. So we can now pull the rigging through like so, and then obviously it's going to go through the wing the other way now on the other side. So once again through there, pull it through. Like so, and that's why we haven't put the sticker on the bottom yet to cover this white part of the undercarriage assembly. We were going to wait until we got this through, and then once we've got the rigging tensioned, we'll finish off by putting the sticker over there and making it look less obvious. So make sure you've got enough slack on the rigging. Yeah, that's already grabbing. If you remember, I mentioned about the keyhole arrangement. That one there was already grabbing the rigging wire. Okay, so this then is the reverse of the other side. So up to the top of the interplane on the rearmost strut. Go. The stickers come adrift slightly. It's just the glue needs to set a little bit more. And then to the forward hole. Like so. Go, and then obviously that then comes down to the other front leg on the undercarriage just there. Sometimes trying to get it into a position where you can see the hole. There we go. It's through. Then pop our rigging wire tail through. And there we are, a full run done. So that's one of the three completed. Just make sure, as I said, we've got enough slack there that we don't cause problems when we come to install. So anyway, let's just pull a little more through. There we go, and just leave that as a tail for now. You don't have to cut that off just yet. So with our other wire, now this should be 600, but it's 800, so we'll end up trimming it. But what we'll do is we'll cut another 600 from our existing or remaining wire, I'd say. So we are going to start by putting our rigging material through these two lower holes on our fuselage struts. So they are, I've already put a knot in the end of one of my 600mm lengths of rigging wire, and it needs to sit on the outside because the first run is from the bottom of this strut up to the top of this one here. So I'm going to go from the inside. Get it so I can see it. There we go. Right, let's pull this through. There we go. So the stopper knot is doing its job and stopping it going any further. And then we're going to take it up to the top of this strut here. And then pull that through. There we go. And that goes over the top of the machine gun as well. And then we're going to take it down to the lower part of our interplane strut. Now this wire here, it shouldn't be messed up, so this wire goes behind the already installed wire here, because this sits, when it's tensioned, this wire here from the top to the bottom sits way in front of this wire that we're installing at the moment. So make sure you put it behind the installed rigging. So we want to pull this through from left to right. So just pop our tool through. The hardest part is trying to get it through this tool while it's lying on the deck. That's or the wing, I should say. Let's just lift it up with the tweezers. There we go. And then pull it through. Fantastic. So that's sitting behind. Now we want to take this down the wing through the bottom of our next hole. There. There's a little bit of the old tongue water. Go. Pull that through. And then this ends up at the top of our fuselage strut, just here. There we go, and that's quite a short run, so that's it done. Just once again, make sure we've got that slack there. So it does look untidy, but that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So we do exactly the same on the other side. So we mirror what we've just done there. Let's put a knot. Go. Just remove its tail. And then pop the threader through. Yes. Careful. There we go. Right. There's my wire. There it is. Forgot what I was doing for a second. And it's through. Fantastic. So up to the top here. It doesn't matter whether it crosses over in front or behind the existing rigging at this point, because they're both in the same place. So they'll just cross over each other and rub together, like so. Down to the lower strut. It's going to be a pain. Good. Sometimes it's like catching a rat in a trap. And then finally, there we go. So, fabulous. So everything's nice and loose at the moment for us to tighten up at a later stage. There is one other thing that we can do whilst we're here that will make our lives a little bit easier. And funnily enough, that's actually installing the pilot. So it comes in this bag. It looks like that. Unless, of course, you bought a 3D one, which comes with its own instructions. Obviously you'll be painting that as well, which would look fabulous, I am sure. So I'm just cutting him out of the surrounding material. And obviously it's a profile pilot with a score down the center there, so I can fold him over. So as with all plastic parts that fold over, or most of them anyway, they get glued. Oh look, I've picked up the new glue. It's not that new. Thought it was blocked for a second. It's not. It's fine. So just added the glue. And fold them over like so. And then we'll let him open up and dry off, and then we will bring him back together and pop him in. Time lapse done. So this little hook at the back here should fit on the rear bulkhead just there. So we can do a little bit of a dry fit. It might be quite a tight fit, seeing as I know the 2mm that I used in this particular build was slightly over 2mm. But the plastic's flexible as well, so hopefully it will be relatively forgiving. Now I think I need something a little more substantial than tweezers to hold it into place. Let's use a small pair of pliers. There we go. Oh, he's looking fine. Look at that. So I'm actually going to glue him in. I will just put a small amount of glue on this slot. and then we'll pop him back into place. Heading in the right direction. He seems to be over to one side at the moment, but I'm sure we can encourage him to stay. So there we go. He's kind of central now. So that'll do, and he's looking through the sights. Here we are again, back on the build board. We have our pup with its messy rigging at the moment and awaiting the top wing. So that's what we are going to get down to right now. To build the wing, of course, what we are going to need is a wing. There we go. And we're also going to need some ribs too. And there's also some stickers involved in the manufacture of it too. So before we do anything, I'm going to make the brace for the wing to sit on while the glue dries. Now, on your 2mm, you'll notice there are two wing braces here. There's one for the lower wing that has a sort of a central slot in it, and there's one for the top wing that has the double slot in it. Now, we haven't actually used the lower wing one because the lower wing actually sits so nicely in the fuselage area itself. It didn't really need one, and that sort of by installing it sets the hedral for the lower wing. So we haven't even bothered using that, but we will use our is W03, I think. So let's get that free of its sheet. And then we're also going to need one of these. It doesn't matter which of the four you choose. They are all the same, and they've got the same part number as well, W02. So now each one of these has a little triangle that has been scored into the surface, as you can see just there. Now that indicates the forward pointing of the wing. So if it's pointing that way, then when you mount the wing, the leading edge should be that side and the trailing edge that side. So literally slot these two together. You can glue them if you want, but they should stay together nicely without the glue. Make sure obviously that has got the triangle pointing forward the same way as the other side. So there we go. So that's our mount made. We'll put that to one side for now, and we'll use that later when we've assembled the wing. Okay, where shall we start? Well, let's start with the ribs. So on this top wing, we need 6 of these. So we've got, as is our normal method of operation, we double up the ribs, so that actually is 2 ribs in one, in that shape there. So if I just nip that one off, and also the other one. So these are D13. Now, on this particular wing, you've got a central section which sits above the cabane struts, and then the rest of the wing moves out to the side there. Obviously, we don't have that in the center because you've got a fuselage in the way. So at this junction here, the junctions where the wings meet the center part of the wing, we actually have a double rib. So what we can do with these ribs themselves is, rather than cutting them in half, we can actually almost cut them in half. So let's just do that. Use the score line as a guide. So if you cut almost all the way through, then you can then fold them on each other like so. You can see I haven't scored particularly well down here, so let's just, if you do go all the way through, it doesn't matter. You can obviously just glue them together, or if you partially, as you see here, I've gone through at the back there now, but that's okay because I can just glue those two parts together. It's still joined in the middle. So let's just add a little bit of glue to that. Because these, where the fold is, will form our inner surface. So then just bring those together like that. So they seem to be well stuck. I was going to let them fall open and then just wait for the glue to dry, but that seems okay, like so. We can tidy up the back bit as well. We can trim this slightly. There's no harm in doing that, just to neaten it front and back. We may have to trim the sticker that goes over it as well, but got a nice neat rib there now. So we'll do the same to the other side. Once again, the end there needs a little bit of a encouragement. So we can stick that together too. Now, if you're in possession of one of the Christmas special Sopwith pups, the sticker material that you have with that is our original sticker material, which is pretty great for covering ribs. The new stuff that we've got, as you may have heard in a previous video, the supplier of the original material stopped making it, unfortunately, so we had to find another supplier, and the materials are slightly different. So the way you can tell whether you've got a new or old is firstly the original stuff had a sort of almost a pearlescent shine to the surface. Very, very subtle. It wasn't overbearing at all. And also the back of the sticker was I suppose probably a translucent glue that it had on it, so you could see, it was white on the back and the front, whereas the new stuff actually has a black adhesive on the back. It is minusculely thicker than the original material. I think it's about maybe 10 microns thicker, something like that. But it just makes a little bit of a difference with the techniques that you use to actually make sure that it adheres to these small parts. So we'll just run through that. So as you can see now, my ribs are nicely prepared. I now need to cover these with some sticker material. Now this is the new sticker material I'm using here, and it's S26 and S27 that adorn these particular ribs. So let's just grab S26. So as you can see on there, it's a black adhesive on the back. So now we're just going to pop our rib center on there. So flat side down, that on, Now, probably needs a little bit of a fiddling round, getting it in a position where I can see it properly. So, as I said, there'll probably be a little bit of an overlap because we've trimmed, you can see, trimmed the edges, so there's a little 1 mil overlap at the front there and the back. I want to get it centre, not only left and right, but back and front too. Put over a little bit. Too much. So there we go. So that's sitting centre on the sticker at the moment, and we can actually take the opportunity to just trim that sticker. And then what we're going to do is bring the sides up so that the sticker actually covers the sides of the rib too. But what I'm going to do, because the sticker material is that tiny bit thicker, it does tend to want to pull away a little bit more than previous sticker did. So I'm just going to encourage it by adding some glue to the equation. So I'm just going to put some onto the rib itself, like so, and also a little onto the sticker too. And then of course I'm going to let that dry before I come to push the sticker onto the side of the rib. There we go. So I can continue, get my S27 and do exactly the same. Now this sticker material is less prone to ripping than the previous material, which is one of the advantages of it. So if you do need to reposition, it's quite easy to just peel it back and pop it back down again. There we go. So I'm just going to, as before, add a smidgen of glue to either surface. Go. And then we'll just let that dry off over there. It would let go of my finger. There we go. So while that is setting, we can release our central wing part. That is D14. Go. And then there's a little bit of work we can do to this before installing. Firstly, if I've left any protruding material, I can take that off. And the other thing I can do with my ball tool is just press the edge down of certainly the leading edge, just to get rid of that, or reduce the white area of the cut edge. There we go, and I can also do it at the back here too. Obviously these edges are forming part of the join with the outer wings, so we don't need to press those down. But certainly do our bit front and back. There we go. The other thing we can do is just bend the wing at the score line, just so that when we come to install the rib, it sits onto the rib and doesn't try and pull away so much. So there we go. That's that done. Now I'm going to give those the ribs a few more minutes to dry, and then I'll come back and we'll attach them to our central part of the wing. Right, let's get these little ribs back on, and then fold up the sides onto the surface of the rib. One side, there's the other. Now you can actually, if you get your fingernails together, you can run them down the edge and sort of get a fold, a crease into the sticker material, like so. Or the other thing that you can do is just use the back of a knife. That also does a very similar thing. But any which way, as long as you get your sticker down and your rib covered over, that's the aim of the game. There we go. We'll do the next one. There we go. So now we can attach these to our central wing part, and you'll notice you've got some slots either side. These are for the tops of the struts to go through. You can see at the top of each of the struts you've got these sort of mimic ribs in plastic, and then you've got these little tags or tabs on top, and they are the tabs that go through these slots here. So we need to keep them clear, and the ribs actually go on the outside of them, right up against them, like so. So you can still see them, but not much else. So we can now run. Oh, just remembered before we do that, I can actually trim off this sticker the 1mm top and bottom, like so. And we can now just run a bead of glue down the edge like so for our rib to attach. go. That's where it needs to be. So we'll leave it like that. Obviously we have an overlap the other side, and which is fine because that helps us position the other wing part onto the structure. Okay. There we go. So we can now just set that down, let the glue take effect, and we can move on to putting the rest of the wings together. So before we do that, actually, let's make the other ribs up. So these are single ribs, and we've got one D13 part left. Got a blade full of sticker, so just remove that, and let's have our rib. Just tidy that up a bit. Then just split this entirely. So that gives us our two single ribs. And then using D28 and D29, we can adorn these with stickers. So the same technique for these, although obviously they're singles rather than doubles. Just pop the rib centrally on the sticker. Like so. Press it down onto the board just to make sure we've got a really good take. Then I'm going to add a little bit of glue to either side just to make sure that the sticker properly sticks, as we did before. Use the transfer technique just to pop the glue up onto the side of the rib as well. So pop that to one side and do the same with the other one. So this is S29. They don't have specific port or starboard. They can be used for either, so they're pretty symmetrical. Once again, you might need to do a little bit of trimming on the rib, but we can do this once we've got the stick on. Okay, You'll notice I'm sort of concentrating the gluing at the right at the ends. That's where there's the least amount of contact surface. So I just make sure I've got glue there, then I know that the sticker material is going to hopefully stick there better. Because if it's going to come apart, that's where it sort of starts, really, in my experience. So there we go. So there, we'll get our D15 and D16 off the sheet. So once again, we can provide these with the treatment, the edge treatment we did with our other flying surfaces. First we'll make sure we haven't got bits sticking out. Go. So using our ball tool, we can do compress the leading edge and go obviously all around the tip onto the aileron, and go all the way down the trailing edge as well, and just repeat the process on the other side. Go. So our white edge, although still there, has been very much reduced. You can see that on the inside, which we're going to glue. You can see how thick the white edge is, but obviously we've severely reduced it all around the exposed areas of the wing. So we'll do the same on the other side. Always be quite cautious when you're doing this, because what you don't want to do is slip and go into the wing while compressing. Not that it'll ruin the wing or stop the aircraft from flying, it just doesn't look as nice. Go. So now once again we can fold these over so that our ribs will take. Sort of over folding it at the moment. Don't worry too much about it cracking on top. The print surface forms a film that hangs on quite well. Obviously you can overdo it, but it's a fair margin of movement before it does. So let's bring our rib sticker material together. Now, as I said previously, if you've got the Christmas special, the Secret Santa Sopwith PUP, you won't have to do this because the sticker material is a little more compliant, being thinner and just is a little more contourable, as it were, than the new sticker material. But this stuff has its advantages too, so it's just one of those things. bit of a fiddle around with this just to make sure everything comes together properly, and then we're going to just do a quick trim top and bottom, just a few mil. There we go. You may not even need to do that. They all match up, but it's nice to keep it tidy. Just making sure that those sort of low contact areas, top and bottom, are in place. So this can then go on either wing, and it sits on the inside of the slots. It's the as the outer interplane strut. This part sits on the outside of the rib, or once it's installed here. So add some glue to the contact points. And put this into place. Now, sometimes I will use tweezers to do this, so I can see what I'm doing and line it up. Go. So once again, we want those slots right down the side of the rib. And obviously, we've also got a little graphic on here, which is the signifies the leading edge, the split between the wing and the aileron. So you can line that up too. That should line up nicely. And just pop that to one side, let it set. I'll get on and finish the other one, and then we'll come back and put the whole wing together. A little point to note when you're installing these ribs: if you do get a little bit of glue over the slots or in the slots, then it's worth clearing it now, rather than waiting to get to the point where you're installing the top wing and find that you can't get your tab through on the top of your struts. So it's worth just making sure that they're clear at this particular point. So I've just used a little bit of wire I had hanging around that's around about the same diameter as the width of the slot. So there we go. We have our two wings now. And clear the decks, and we have our central part here, and this is where we're going to be using our brace as well. Now, I may have changed this on the actual oh, I can check actually. So it's on the 2mm stuff. I'm using an old 2mm sheet, which is part of the prototyping. It's a bit better, but just not quite. The slots are a little bit too close together to hit the ribs, as you can see there. So they're supposed to take the ribs up, and for some reason, obviously bad measurements on my part, I've got those a little bit out of the norm. So what I suggest is measure up. They look like they're on the new parts. These are the production parts. It looks to be a little better, a little bit further apart, but maybe just not quite as wide as it should be. So what we can do, just as well I didn't glue these, I'm just going to take this apart, and then I need a gap between the two of 50 58. So the gap is we've got enough gap, so there and there is where 58 lives. We just need 4 millimeters either side of that, so we really need to be creating the gap that wide. So let's just cut that slot a little wider. Go, and then that means we should be able to pop our part in place. There we go. So there's a little bit more room now as well. So that's fine. Okay, let's put our feet back on. So we'll pop that up there for now, and we can just do a quick dry fit just to make sure everything looks all right. So that goes on there. You can see if you press the two halves together, you get a dihedral as well, because then it's not entirely flat. So it's shaped so that when you bring it together, you get some dihedral in place anyway. So it's encouraged. Okay, so let's just make sure on the other side too. That looks fabulous. Make sure our ribs are properly in place. Fantastic. A little bit of glue on it. Just rub that off. Go. And we'll now add a relatively generous amount of glue to the exposed ribs that we have here. Just push my sticker material back on. There. I said, can be quite generous with the amount of glue that we had here, because we wanted to do a substantial job of holding the wings together. What we don't want to do though, put it on the wing surface. Oh dear, silly boy. There we go. So I'm now just going to attach each wing in turn. Go for that one first because that's the one we glued. And then pull apart, so I've transferred the glue over. There we go. And we'll just let the glue dry slightly, and we'll bring it all together once that's happened. Now, because we've let the glue dry, we've got to be pretty precise with our attachment. So we'll make sure the leading edge is attached first. And then press it down. What I don't want is any white showing through of the underlying top of the rib. So there we go. Same again on this side. There we go, and you can see we've already got the dihedral in the wing, and What I can do though is to leave the wing sitting in the brace. So make sure your pointers, where are my pointers? Look, I've got one facing one way, one facing the other. So let's just do a switcheroo. Then pop this in place. The idea being that where the brace is, we put the top of the wing as well, like so. So that should now be braced in the correct position, and then I can just add a weight to the center. So my glue on it, for example. Just bring that forward a little. There we go. So that's sitting nicely on the brace now, and I will leave that there for possibly maybe even 24 hours to make sure that the dihedral is set in the wing. So I shall come back once I'm happy that the wing is set and ready to install onto the rest of the model. Right, now this has been setting for a few hours, and if I take a look at it, I'm pretty happy with how that dihedral is looking on both wings. The danger is always that you'll get one wingtip a little bit further up than the other, but if I'm looking at the gaps at the tips there on the flat surface, they look exactly the same. So very happy with that. So the next step is to get this onto our aircraft, and the easiest way I've found to do it is by initially attaching it to the central struts, the cabane struts, and then once we're happy with those in place, we can then turn our attention to attaching the outer interplane struts. So we just take a look at these. What we can do is a quick dry fit, just to make sure that we're happy with everything and that our slots are free and available. So can use, what I find easier to do is to use tweezers to help with the process. And as I said, this is just a dry fit at the moment. So just popping the tabs through the slots at the top. I'm just going to go through the motions for the cabane struts. So that's got them slotted in there, and I'm just going to check alignment so that both wings seem to be following the same line, they're parallel, which seems to be the case here. So that's good. Obviously, if we need to put a little bit of a twist in, we can open up those slots on the wing themselves so that we can push the wing one way or another so that it lines up. But mine seems to be nice and straight, thankfully. So we can now look at attaching those top wings. So we've got to be, I'm going to do this because the plastic parts are slotting into these slots on the wing and also pushing up against the side of the ribs. We need for it to all happen relatively quickly. we don't want the glue to be too tacky when we come to do it, because there's a bit of sliding going on. We don't want everything to come to a grinding halt before those tabs are in the slots. So I'm just going to add some glue to the inside of the rib where that plastic part comes into contact, and then we are going to pop it straight on. So one thing I want to avoid is getting any of the rigging into the glue, so we'll try and avoid that. So that's one in. Just move around to the other side. See what I'm doing. The other one slotted in almost nearly. There we go. Obviously, you want those tabs to go all the way into the slot, because that also has an impact on the angle of attack of the wing itself, the top wing. So just make sure mine's all square still. Be a slight twist, but I think just a little bit of force. I'm just trying to bring the wing around. That way you might be able to see it. It's very, very small, but just trying to, oh yeah, still there. Still a bit of a twist. So what I'm going to do is actually take this apart. The glue's not completely set yet, and I'm just going to open up the slots at the top there. So just going to add a little bit at the back of that slot there, so that I can bring that forward and twist it. And therefore I'm going to add some more glue just to make sure that it doesn't get too tacky. So if I can't slot those tabs in. Probably didn't pay enough attention when I was dry fitting. That's when you're supposed to see these things rather than in the middle of gluing it. Anyway, here we go again. So, tabs in that side. Tabs in the other side. So there we go, that's straight now. Yep, it's all sitting pretty. So I'm just going to let that glue set for a few minutes, and then we can start thinking about putting the other struts in place. Okay, so this is nice and fixed now. We've got our wings parallel. We've made a little bit of an adjustment with the slot so that we could twist the wing slightly. That all works. So now it's all about just popping the outer struts, the interplanes, up into position on the outside of the rib, like so. So if you followed my instruction, the lower, this hasn't been actually glued yet, so there's a little bit of an adjustment that we can get from having that unglued, but we can glue these into place like so. So we'll crack on with that now. Very simply, just add the glue to the side of the rib where the strut is going. So, and then pop our strut into place with the tabs, like so. And do the same on the other side. Go. There we go, the tabs go in nicely there. So I noticed on the other side it came adrift as I did it, but hopefully the glue will have dried sufficiently that I can now pop it into place. And it stay where it is. There we go. So got a little bit of rigging slack I need to introduce. Seems to be over tightened in certain areas. There we go. Now we should be able to just make sure everything is in place with the appropriate dihedral. I think what I'm going to do is prop this up on the wings for a little while whilst the glue sets, just to make that make sure that dihedral is in place there. I've got some plastic drawers, matchboxes, whatever you need really. Just that. Just there. There we go. Perfect. Right, we'll leave that, let it set, and then we can come back and start tightening the rigging. So now we have our top wing on, and it's all nicely lined up. We've got some good dihedral there, but of course our rigging is a bit of a mess, so we're going to tighten it up. Now, if you remember rightly, we have 3 pieces of rigging that go around the aircraft. One of them starts here, goes through all the way through the rigging here, out here and down, and ends at this point here. And then we have 2 others that start their journey down at the bottom of the struts here, and they wind their way around one wing one way and one wing the other, and they end up at the back end here, these 2 strings there. So we're going to do these 2 first. I've already actually started on this one, so I just need to grab a little bit of tension on the back here. So I'm not pulling it too tight, because obviously this can distort. It's a very lightweight structure. So let's crack on with the other side. Right through, a little bit of tension, and then the back there, pull that through, and then we should be able to just pull that there. Now what I'm going to do is actually tie these two tails together, like so. And then this is quite slippery, this stuff. And my fingers are less than nimble, I have to say. So, there we go. And then we can use that to basically use gravity to tension the strings whilst the glue is setting on the points where they exit the struts. So we'll pop the glue on there fairly shortly, but before we do that, we shall tension up the other set of rigging. So that starts down here, goes up to the top right interplane strut. So through there, then of course it goes through the wing and then through the fuselage. And then repeats on the other side. So through there, and then the last port of call at the top of the undercarriage strut. So if we have a look at our rigging now, we just pull everything taut. Yeah, everything looks fine. The wings, a little bit of a twist on there. Let's just check that out. No, that looks fine. So we've got a little bit of twist on each of the wings, giving a bit of a lift at the back edge of the wings here, which is good. That actually helps with stability. And because we haven't fixed these in yet, we have the ability to push up and down so that we can actually increase or decrease the amount of twist that we have on the top wing itself. So, but I'm literally just eyeballing everything, and it should all lock out so that, see there, not too bad at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to tie, probably around the back so it's less visible. Just going to tie a simple knot at the point where that rigging comes through, just to make sure everything's still tensioned. Be a little bit more, I suppose. I'm keeping my thumb over that point there at the moment, just to make sure the rigging is certainly held in this area here, and then I can concentrate on getting the rigging tensioned on the other side too. There we go. And then I'm literally just going to tie a very simple knot at the end there, making sure that there's plenty of tension on there when I do pull it tight. There we go. So that's now locked in place. So what I'm going to do here is just pop a little bit of the CA glue that I have. Oh, that's coming all over the place. Let's just get a quick wipe for that. So very carefully put a blob on. Now you can use, this is a foam safe CA glue, but of course you could use aliphatic as well. That's fine, and that takes a little longer to set, but it's a little softer. There we go. Now I've got a great big blob there, so I'm just going to wipe some of that away. There we go. And then using the same glue, I'm going to add a blob, a very small blob hopefully, to either side of the struts where the rigging goes through at the back there. So literally I'll show you the points because I don't think I'll be able to show you the gluing when it happens. So just there, and also just down here as well. I don't want too much, so what I'll probably do is just take a little blob on the end of a wire. And then I can hang the aircraft with the rigging tensioned and wait for that glue to dry. So here it goes. I'm going to hang it from the microphone. You can just see the tail. So once that has dried, we'll come back and we'll just tie those off, and then trim the rigging. Okay, let's get the pup down. Now the glue is dry, and what we can do now is tie the rigging positions off. It's just whenever I put the aircraft upside down, well, I suggest it gets supported. Whenever you do it, it gets supported in the middle because of that dihedral. Of course, we've got points up here and here where the wing will rest, and of course the body will push down. So to maintain that dihedral, I suggest we actually put something in the middle while we've got the aircraft upside down. Just a little tip there. Right, I'm just going to cut off these tails, but not entirely. I'm going to leave a length there and there. Get rid of that. And I'm then going to just put a simple knot in the place where this finishes. So it's just, there we go. So it's just about looping it round. The glue obviously now set should hold, so it should hold its position. We should be able to tie a nice clean knot at the end of that strut. There we go. And do exactly the same on the other side. Just tie it off. It's always difficult to do it at a distance. I usually do it quite close in when I'm doing it without being videoed. I'm losing grip on it. Oh. Anyway, if I decide to cut this bit of the video, you'll see it immediately tied, and there we go. And then just pull that tied on the strut. Tweezers in there, they'd seem to do a better job than just doing it by finger. There we go. Then we can add, once again, add another little bit of glue just to bond the knot so it doesn't ever slip out. So just a little bit of the rocket fuel. Go. Fantastic. So we'll let that dry off, and then we can start, and then we can literally cut the tails off as close to the exit points as possible. So I'm going to do one. I'll show you one. Now, a little tip here: I always keep a blade specifically for the task of cutting rigging wire. The rigging wire is easy to cut if you have a really super sharp blade. It is tough if you don't. So I'll hopefully be able to demonstrate this. Let's practice what I preach and support the aircraft. And then I'm going to take my tail here. Then there we go. Easy as that. But you'll really struggle if you try to use the blade that you've been using for the entirety of the build. So I'll just do another one. I've got the rigging here for the undercarriage as well. So that needs to come off. That's ready to do so. So in as close as possible, and well, this has got a bit of glue on it as well. There we go. Still, it's easy to do. So I've done those front parts there, so that's tidied that up really nicely, and we've just got these two to do, and we're going to let the glue set for that before we cut them off using exactly the same technique. But in effect, we've now got our top wing on, we've got all our rigging tightened up, and we're ready to move on to the next process, which is building the front end, basically the rotary engine and the cowl, and also obviously putting in things like the motor and also ballast. So that's going to be interesting. So I'll see you there. Oh, there is something that we need to do now we've done the rigging that we can do right at this moment in time, and that is we can cover up this little eyesore here with our S21 sticker. So let's just get that in the clear. And because this is quite a big sticker, what we're going to do is wet the back of it before placement, and then you know how I wet these, right? I lick them. I know it's pretty gross, but there we go. So let's put this into place. Nearly. Here we go. I can just shift it around a little bit. Get it properly positioned. There we go. And then I'm not going to press it home yet because it's too damp for the sticky to take. But we'll just leave it there. And once it's dried, we can press the sticker home, and it should all be fixed to the bottom. So on to the cowl.